For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Welcome back to another week of Like Father, Like Son, bringing you your Miss Lou sports fix each week on iTunes, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube. Email Joey at joey@concordiasentinel.com or Jake at jakemartinsec@gmail.com. Now, here are your hosts, Joey Martin and Jake Martin.
Listen, I know it might not be here to stay, but this fall weather feels fantastic. Guys, first of all, let me welcome in the old man. I call him the old man because he had a birthday last Saturday. Dad, how old are we now?
The big 6-0.
Woo! 60.
Just getting started.
60.
And I want to tell you what, I felt it Friday night. It's muggy and bugs were horrible. I'm like you. This is very welcome.
You know, I'll say this. I don't know if it might have to do with turf, but I don't deal with the bugs that bad up here. Like it's not like it is like, especially you were at Delta Charter. That was like the worst place.
Oh yeah. And they
had the biggest, they had mosquitoes the size of fireflies. I mean, dragonflies. I mean, those things were monstrous.
Yeah. And they just swarm and it was muggy. Kids were going out with cramps. It was, woo. But interesting. You should mention turf. Stanley actually told me, they played at 11:30 at Tioga because of the weather and all. He said, I had kids coming over limping to the sideline. I'm like, what's wrong? You got cramps? Said, Coach, my feet are on fire.
Yeah, no, that's real too, because I remember I was at a 7-on-7 one time. Neville was hosting a 7-on-7 tournament, and it was during the day, and it was like one of the hottest days of the year. It was in August. And I couldn't even stay the whole time. I stayed for like 3 hours, and then I had to leave because I was so dehydrated. I had nothing to drink, and I was pouring sweat. But it's unbelievable how hot it gets on turf. It's just like it's crazy. Anyway, you saw some good action Friday night. Let's just start with where you were. You were at Delta Charter watching the Storm get their first win of the season. Dad, what were your biggest takeaways from that?
They came out, took care of business. Trey Poole hit a little pooch kick right in the open area about 15 yards down the field. Jalen Williams recovered it. It was executed perfect. Of course, it rained all week, so when that ball hit the field, it just stuck there. But it got them off to a great start. And I was impressed. Kavarius Whitehead, first game at quarterback, managed the game real well. Looked really good. Davern Mays had an ESPN highlight catch. He was running out kind of circle pattern. Kid from Homer grabbed his jersey and just kind of held it, and he still reached out with two hands, diving, and caught it in the end zone. And that's what Blake told me afterwards. That's one of the best catches I've seen. It was really, really good. The Homer is not real strong interior, and DCS pretty much controlled that. It was a good job. It was a good game for them to start out with, and interested to see how they do against Lincoln Prep.
I was just going to ask you, what do you think they do against Lincoln Prep? Because Lincoln Prep's a team that, let's face it, they were outmatched in that jamboree against Ferriday.
Right.
How do you think a team like Delta Charter does against Lincoln Prep?
Well, and Blake said, Lincoln Prep's a lot like Homer, but they're bigger. So, I think they're going to. So I think they're going to present more problems. You got some small kids on the line for Delta Charter. It's going to be a lot closer. I still think they can come out with the win. Yeah,
I got you. And, of course, you caught up with Delta Charter head coach Blake Wheeler. Asked him how it was like to get his first win of the season and first win of his high school career, and this is what he had to say.
Excellent. Well, I was really pleased.
Good
really
deal.
Pleased.
The first win?
Oh man, I'm tickled, excited, proud of these kids. They fought hard and I know someone was in a whole lot of pain, but I told them at halftime, I said, look, just leave your heart and your guts out on that field. Everything you got, and they did. They did, and I couldn't be prouder of them as a coach.
And just to get that first win, that's...
Man, it's exciting. It's exciting. My buddy told me, he said, well, you got about 530 more to catch JT Curtis.
That one. You can, I did. You can get ready for that, but you know what? It's like just seeing him in the end zone afterwards. It was like, wow, this is. You could tell he was getting emotional about it. And I talked to Stanley Smith. The same thing happened at Alexandria, and he said, when they started playing that alma mater, I just choked up.
That's cool. That's cool for especially Stanley, who went to high school there.
Right.
Well, let's talk about that game. Ferriday, of course, got the big win against Ash. I think we all actually know. Me and Mac picked them to beat Ash.
Look, I want to tell you something. I'm surprised they won because I really thought the depth and just that they would wear down against being outmanned. I'm surprised they won. I'm shocked they put up 37. And like Stanley told me, it should have been more than that. We muffed 2 punts. We had an interception for a touchdown. He said it should have been worse.
I think Ruby's...
Let's welcome Ruby to the program.
Leave my shoe alone, dog, before I throw it at you.
Sound like she didn't like that, talking about that muff punch you got after your leg.
Well, so, as you guys know, Dare only played a quarter.
Right. I was just about to ask you, are you even more surprised that they were able to pull it out without him playing in 3 quarters?
Exactly. And the other guys stepped up. Dan Trez had a heck of a game, and the other guys, they just controlled the line of scrimmage. That's just apparent to me, and just a great job. And Kobe Dillon, I mean, I talked about that kid all last year, even though we didn't play much. I said, watch out for this guy. But, man, he looked good at quarterback.
Yeah, Kobe Dillon's a kid that I heard about a lot, as he was coming up, especially when he was in junior high. I had a lot of the assistants talk really, really good things about him, and obviously he's showing, that he's definitely worth the hype. I mean, so far so good. Getting that was a big win. I don't want to downplay the win because we, me and Matt picked them to win. I think we picked them to win for talent reasons alone, but I was concerned about the numbers. I thought that would wear them down. The fact that they did pull this off without Rosenthal in 3 of the quarters, that's a huge, huge victory for Ferriday. And I think it's got a lot of people thinking that the 2A state championship is the goal, and it's probably where this team's going to end up this year.
And plus the fact, Jake, and you hear this all the time, but I've heard it from people who are very knowledgeable about football and don't use the excuse. But everyone I've talked to said the officiating was absolutely horrible. And like every time, Dan Trez even said, they were trying to get me thrown out of the game. And I love what Stanley said afterwards. He said, we brought a brand of football to Sinlaw they usually don't see. They're used to that kind of spread stuff and not being physical, and Ferriday brought it to them.
Yeah, that's a great quote. You need to figure out what's going on with Ruby behind you. But
I'm tossing her.
The JYD.
JYD indeed.
She can be. Y'all talk among yourselves. I'm getting her head.
So a little insight into Faraday's opponent this week, of course, called the game on Kmar, Franklin Parish and Rayville game Friday. Went into that game certainly expecting FP to be the underdog. I came away really knowing what we expected out of FP. They're going to be smaller than most teams they play. They're going to be slower than most teams we play. But they didn't make a lot of penalties, and they were running laps around Rayville pretty much the whole game. And that's why they were able to, pull off the comeback victory. Came back from 2 touchdowns to win 22-20, and they're going to struggle. They struggle a little bit moving the football at times, but hit the big play twice through the air is something that kind of reminiscent of last year's team, even though they're out of that flex bone this year. But certainly Rayville was a bigger squad up front on the lines offensively and defensively, Jake, and Ferriday is certainly going to have the push up front, and that's going to be it's just going to basically be, can Ferriday limit their mistakes? Yep. And they should be be able to win the game, but it should be competitive.
I was just about to say, hearing you say that, it's a must, an absolute must for Ferriday to not make those mistakes. And so far, they made a few mistakes against Alexandria. I believe they muffed a few punts.
Yeah.
2 punts. You can't do that against a team like Franklin Parish that showed against Rayville it will capitalize on those mistakes. And so it has to be much better. And I say that, but I still think Ferriday has the edge in this one. Even without Dare Rosenthal, I think the athletes are too good. Kobe Dillon's playing too good a football. They have to find a way to slow down LT. Of course, LT Major's one of the best quarterbacks we have in Northern Louisiana. And he's a guy that can change the game by himself. And so if they can limit him, I like Faraday's chances.
Yeah, and I'm still not certain about Dare. I will be surprised if he plays because the way Stanley was talking, we're going through the protocol. If there's any kind of doubt whether he should play, he won't be out there. It's not worth it. But, yeah, it should be. And of course, we've got the other factors to throw in that makes it even more intriguing.
Yeah, of course, with Stanley Smith coaching a defensive coordinator last year for a year, and that 1 year he was at Franklin Parish was Kenny Kitchens was the offensive coordinator. And of course now they're over at Ferriday, and Kenny has a connection even deeper than that. He was the first quarterback on the first Franklin Parish team when they of course consolidated the schools and became Franklin Parish High School way back when, and had a great career in baseball and football there. And now he's coaching against them, and he knows LT very well. He was his quarterback last year and molded LT into one of the best quarterbacks in the area. Went from basically LT as a freshman, throwing a couple interceptions and only throwing for about 800 yards to throwing for over 2,000 yards for 17 touchdowns and 7 picks and rushed for 800 more last year. So, and that was all Kenny, putting him in that RPO type offense, and LT really excelled in that. So they know each other very well, and Stanley knows, all the personnel very well too. So, and all these coaches know each other. It's going to be a lot of fun. It
will. And you got Joseph Purvis, who lives in Vidalia,
right?
And interviewed for Delta Charter and Vidalia Jobs. He's took over as defensive coach at Franklin Parish. But mentioned Kenny. I've only known him a month, Matt, but I am so impressed with this guy.
A great guy, and his dad, First Sergeant Kitchen, he was a guy that ran the RTC at Winsboro High School for many years. He's coached, he's refereed for many years, and Kenny, you can tell he's taken that upbringing and held on to a lot of those values, and he's become a really great coach in his own right. And
not a talker, but boy, he gets it done.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what Stanley recognized in him. And they knew each other before. Obviously, they coached together last year.
In college, and they were together.
You mentioned Joseph Purvis, so I want to throw this in there. Whitney commented first thing after the game when we talked to him was, I just really have to give props to Joseph Purvis because, Rayville went up 14-0 in the blink of an eye on an 80-yard bomb and a 26-yard touchdown pass. And Joseph, made a few adjustments, put the kids in the right place, moved a couple guys around, put them in different positions. And that was pretty much all she wrote for Rayville after that. And he's doing that with guys that, his biggest defensive lineman is about 230 pounds, and then most of them average about 160, 170, 180, and a lot of young guys in the secondary too, a few freshmen playing, and he put them in the right spot to take care of a very high octane, potent Rayville attack, and they really didn't move the ball at all in that second half.
Yeah, people I talked to when Joseph was interviewing were very high on him, and I see why.
And speaking of great coaches, D. Fairclough got his 250th win last Friday against Cicely Island. Of course, they won that game 34-6. They actually started the game off with a bang. Devin Green returned the opening kickoff for 70 yards for a touchdown. So, Dad, quite a debut re-debut, I should say, for Fairclough as the head man at Vidalia.
Yeah, right. Devin took it right up the middle. That was huge because Cicely Island, he said, they scrapped, they didn't give up. It was really closer than that score may show, that old adage, but they kind of put it out of hand in the fourth quarter. But yeah, great effort. D has been talking about his defense since the spring, and they're just swarming to the ball, look like the old killer bees. But on the bad side, Cameron Randall he appears to have tore his ACL, and he looked really good in the first 2 games I saw him running the ball. Only a sophomore. Tyron Jones hurt his neck. Tyler Cupid, he just been moved to the offensive line. He was dehydrated, and apparently he's getting tests done in New Orleans. think they're just checking his heart. So, I mean, that's tough losses right there. But I still, and this Delhi game to me is so huge because if they win this game, they could easily start out 4-0.
All right, Picks of the Week brought to you by Rita Insurance. Go by and see Brian Chandler today at 107 Carter Street in Vidalia. Call him at 414-0003.
Tell you what, Delhi has some athletes, a couple of 6-foot receivers. It's not going to be a cakewalk for Vidalia by any means. They're going to have to bring their game and just I think it's important that they control the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I talked with Coach Tharp and a couple of the Mangum coaches, and they certainly have some talent. Suffered a lot of penalties in that game. Delhi did. Mangum pretty much ran it at will. I think that bodes well for Vidalia. I think Coach Faircloth and the Vikings get the win.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. This is what I'm doing. I'm looking at it. And I'm seeing Mangum beat them 33-6. Vidalia wants to at the very least compete with Mangum this year. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mangum's a good football team, and Dad actually said in the summer he believes that Vidalia will split with Ravel and Mangum. And if you're going to sit there and if you're going to compete with Mangum this year, if that's what the goal is, you got to beat a Delhi, and that for that reason alone, I've got Vidalia beating Delhi in this game.
Exactly, and like I say, and I tell you what, if Mel's Field is not packed out by kickoff Friday, I'm going to be very disappointed. And if D. Faircloth Viking Stadium is not packed out for this team next Friday, I'm going to be hugely disappointed. I mean, we've got some good football being played around here.
Yeah, here's a little something to think about. Mangum ran the ball 38 times for 374 yards against Delhi. They threw it only one time, completed a pass for 19 yards. So Delhi could not stop the run. So hopefully the Vikings will be all right in that, at least in that category.
Yeah, I think Devin Green should have a big day, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, I think he should too. I tell you what, 5'4", but that kid runs hard.
Yeah, so
speaking of backs, Jake, I want to mention the kid at Cathedral, Greg Moore, 775 yards rushing in 3 games.
Woo!
Impressive.
I was talking to Craig. I said, who holds the record? I'm thinking either D. Fleming or Michael Richardson or maybe Jared West. He said he didn't know, but he thinks it may be Michael Richardson. I'm trying to reach out to Michael and to our buddy Walt Brown to just see because and Chuck Darbone, what a great guy. Cathedral coach, told me before the year, he said our offensive line is our strength, and he's reaping the benefits of that. And Greg Moore is a senior. His brother Brinson is a freshman, and he had a couple of huge plays. So I mean, I'm happy for Chuck because he came in after a lot of the athletes were gone, and I'm glad to see him be able to have success at Cathedral.
No doubt. All right, let's get to some college football talk. There's a lot going on, but I guess we can just simplify it and look at LSU. Guys, I liked what I saw. I mean, if I can just be as simple as I can, I think what you saw from the offense was about 10%. I don't think they unveiled a whole lot. You saw a lot of window dressing. By that, I mean, mostly you just saw zone and power runs. That's basically all you saw all night, and you saw an occasional play action pass. But you saw the shifts. You saw, I think they shifted. They had a player shift 70 times in that game. So it was pretty crazy the amount of movement that Matt Kennedy's offense brings. And of course, you had a few motion penalties, which I expected that. You got to be better in the red zone. I think they ended up being 3 for 7 for touchdowns in the red zone. Got to be better than that. But overall, I really liked what I saw. Danny Etling was cool, calm, and poised, made the throws that he needed to. Again, they didn't really open it up too much because they were dominating the trenches and they didn't have to.
Right, didn't have to.
And
I like the speed jet run too.
Well, yeah, but trust me, you hadn't seen anything yet.
Oh, yeah.
Matt Canada's offense is going to get wacky against Mississippi State. And I think Chattanooga, he kind of does the same thing because he can, just use. He doesn't have to unveil a whole lot and just still win in a dominant fashion. But Mississippi State, if if the last Saturday's game against Chattanooga is Charleston is any indicator of what kind of defense they're going to have, they held that team to 33 total yards, then yes, you'll see Canada start to unveil his offense. But and I got to mention the defense. The defense obviously didn't allow BYU to cross the 50-yard line. That's been talked about a lot. But for me, I love the cheetah formation, the debut of the cheetah. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, that's the 2-4-5 defense they showed, and that they left the ends in. They left the ends in. They brought in 4 linebackers, and they had a nickel package. So it was a 2-4-5, and you got to see the speed that we've talked about all summer. Dave Aranda talked a lot about how this team has more outside pass rushing speed that last year's team didn't have, and that he would use that. And so you got the debut of the cheetah, and it looked pretty fierce. And 17 true freshmen playing. Guys, I can ramble on and on. I'll let y'all talk, but I really liked what I saw Saturday.
Yeah, and Matt, I was telling Jake after the game, the thing I was pleased to see is Miles Brennan getting in there with 5 minutes left in the game. Leslie Miles never did that. I mean, I don't care what the score was. He would never let the back guy get in there. And how about Clyde the Glide? Does he look good or what?
The freshman?
Yeah.
It was hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Devin White. I just think that guy's going to have a big year, especially in that Aranda defense.
Are we sure that was Devin White and not Duke Riley?
Exactly. He looked a lot just a bigger, stronger Duke Riley.
He looked so fast. I don't know if that was the turf that made him look that fast, but man, he looks like he's improved his speed dramatically. And I wrote this in my column on the very first defensive series. Number 24 makes a play in the backfield. I'm going, man, Devin White looks good. And then it hit me, oh, wait, he changed his number to 40. Who's 24? Mm-hmm. And you see the back of the jersey, and it's Tyler Taylor, the freshman linebacker. And you're going, oh, and now I see what the hype is all about. And then, of course, Jacob Phillips came in and played some as well. Man, I think this is one of the deepest – you could argue this is the deepest defense they've had since the 2011 squad. And I say that because they didn't have Donnie Alexander, they didn't have Arden Key, and they didn't have Kevin Tolliver. And guess what? It did not matter. Greedy Williams looked great at corner, had an interception. Grant Delpit looked awesome, but you rarely talked about him because he had all these other great players. Todd Harris, Kerry Vincent. I mean, you can go on and on. This defense is young and athletic. My goodness.
And did you have any idea the guys that were going to sit out before the game?
I found out like everybody else did, like an hour or two before. And we knew that they were going to sit some, but
right.
The reports were that it was just backups.
Right. And that's exactly what I heard.
Yeah. And then you hear Donnie Alexander and Kevin Tolliver. And Arden Key wasn't lumped into that. He just didn't play because he's still rehabbing his shoulder. But, and they're going to be back next Saturday. And so that makes that defense that much deeper. But, man, it's going to be tough for them to get back on the field. I know they're listed as starters, but, golly, the way those other guys played, I don't know if I wouldn't have started them in this game.
Joey, I got to ask, you have any Mississippi State fans over there worried about the Dogs Saturday?
Actually, there really are some. And, I had somebody ask me today, how good is that quarterback? Because Appalachian State, not Appalachian State, Charleston Southern really never attempted a pass against State, so really don't know what their pass defense is like. And I told them, I said, well, Jamar Smith, they're very high on him, good passer and runner, so he may give them some problems.
I think Mississippi State will be able to move the ball pretty good, though, against that Tech defense. It'll be fun.
I think so, too. But I think Jamar Smith grew up in that Northwestern game. It was tied 24-24. I think they went up 31-24 at this point. But Jamar Smith reeled off a run where he ran some guys over. And after that run, he got up, fired up, and it was all Tech after that. I mean, in that moment, it felt like, okay, maybe he got it right there. Maybe he's going to come out next week and really put on Mississippi State. And part of me, too, feels like maybe Tech was overlooking Northwestern a little bit. Maybe they were looking at that Mississippi State game.
That's all everybody's been talking about,
Yeah, it really has. It's really all people have been talking about. I know Northwestern upset them in 2014, and that was kind of a storyline, but I still think they were looking at Mississippi State, and I think it'll be a tight game. I'll look for the line right now is 7 points, and I think that's pretty close to what it will be.
And no cowbells.
Yeah.
No cowbells, yeah.
Good luck with that. Did you guys see the video of the Alabama dad and son fighting at the Florida State game?
I didn't know it was dad and son. I saw the fight.
That was a dad and a son. And Matt, go to AL.com because they fought again when they got in the concourse. And this guy picks up this woman and body slams her on the floor.
On video?
Yes, it's on video.
Oh my gosh, they need to be banned for the rest of the season. No games.
Exactly. And then they go back to the stands, and this one guy's going, Alabama, like nothing happened. It's like, you got to check that out.
Day drinking.
And you want to sell beer in Tiger Stadium.
That's it. Joey's Gems brought to you each week by Concordia Bank and Trust, who's been bridging the Misloop since 1903. Go by and visit one of their 5 locations today or visit them at concordiabank.com.
The Canadian Football League's Toronto Argonauts, founded in 1873, are the oldest continuously existing pro football team in North America today. Hey, I got to mention, too, when I was talking about Michael Richardson at Cathedral, he went on to Tech and had a great career at Tech. And then he went to Winnipeg, and he was a Canadian Football League Rookie of the Year. So he was no flash in the pan. Also, the Steelers made Notre Dame halfback William Shakespeare their first pick in the 1936 NFL Draft.
William Shakespeare.
Hey, I've got some homework for you, Dad.
All right.
Rustin just beat Neville, and it ended a 50-game home winning streak.
Mm-hmm.
What's the longest home winning streak in the area? And can you find that out before next week?
I think that those Ferriday 50s teams would have to be up there with that
Right.
4 years without a loss.
Think you could give us that next week?
Yeah, I sure can. Yeah, it's got to be somebody, John Curtis or Calvary, or I'll check Ferriday on that.
Cool. All right, gang. Well, you've got that to look forward to next week, as well as our recaps of all the happenings that's going on this Friday. Hope you get out, watch some football, and enjoy yourself.